We are live, Captain.
Admiral.
Admiral, sorry.
I was calling you Admiral.
Oh, we're both Admiral. Whatever rank you are, I'm the same rank.
Okay.
um, Welcome to Starfleet Boy, and this is exciting. We've made it through a whole entire season of Star Trek: The Next Generation. And now we're going to take a little time to recap this season and talk about our favorite episodes and what we thought of the season as a whole, and celebrate this like nice time. Congratulations, Doctor, and
Congratulations to you as well.
Goldie Scott, who's not here, but he's very much a part of the show too.
Absolutely.
He's just a very busy guy.
He is.
Those taxes, they keep him really
You
really
know,
occupied.
running the tax situation on Drunk Space Nine is it's a full-time job.
It is a full-time job. Um, so very exciting season. The first season, as I recall, of Star Trek: The Next Generation, definitely left me wanting more as a kid, and watching it again, as an adult. I've seen it a few times here and there, episodes mixed, but I don't think I've watched it in order in a long time.
Same
And
here.
yeah, and it was really nice to kind of see season one where it all began for Star Trek: The Next Generation. And in this season, we had some really great episodes. But I'll just go over the list of all the episodes real quick, and we can kind of give it a quick review. So we had Encounter at Farpoint, 2-part opener, introduces the Q and all of our the crew of the Enterprise. We have the Naked Now, an homage to the Naked Time from the original series. Another great way to give us insight into what our crew is like on the inside, so to speak, what they are like naked. um, Next, we had Code of Honor, a very strange and strange episode with a civilization that's tribal and has a very strict code of honor. But we find that even there's the corruption can occur, and people without honor can hide behind the mask of honor. And it was also one of our favorite episodes because Lutan is just such an outrageous character, so we like that about him. The last outpost that had our introduction to the Ferengi, right? Isn't that the one? Yeah, that's the Ferengi episode, and we also get to see the portal gatekeeper character from the Takan Empire. So that was like a nice little view into an empire long gone, and gives us kind of a little bit of sprinkles in a little bit of our archaeological penchant that Captain Picard has. Even though it's like a Riker, Riker episode. After that, we had Where No One Has Gone Before, that introduced the Traveler, and we see a thumbs up from the Doctor. He really liked that episode. It's very science fiction-y kind of episode. Great episode that still stands out after all these years. And then we have The Lonely Among Us, which I can't even remember what it's about now. Because it's Lonely Among the Season. No, what was that? That was the one where Captain Picard gets possessed, right, by the energy. Right?
Oh,
Isn't that the one? He goes into the cloud. And then we have Justice, our very sexy episode, which featured
which Golden
uh,
Scott likes a lot.
which Goldie Scott likes a lot, which also was a very Prime Directive heavy episode with Wesley getting in trouble. Then comes the battle, which takes us back to Captain Picard's earlier career, and introduces us to the Stargazer, right?
The Stargazer,
Stargazer, yeah,
yes.
it was like pretty cool. Hide Q, where we have the return of Q, where he offers Commander Riker the power of the Q, and we see how that affects him and how the crew handles that. Haven, another great episode. This was a Counselor Troy episode, and where I think, did you tolerate her in that episode,
I
Doctor?
actually thought that was one of her best episodes.
Excellent, excellent.
I
Yeah, and
didn't
it's a
review that one with you guys, but yeah.
great episode about fate and destiny and true love. Then we have the big goodbye, our introduction to Captain Picard's pastime of pretending he's a great private investigator named Dixon Hill, and our introduction to some interesting concepts about the holodeck. Data lore, we meet. I forgot. How could I have forgotten? We meet Lore. That's right, in season one.
Right, of
Who's going
course.
to be
Yes.
so Data Lore, another great episode, introducing Data's brother and giving us insight into Data's past. Angel One, misogyny turned on its head, and it's now a planet where you have these kind of really dominant women. 11001001, the phenomenal episode with the Binars. We're getting a thumbs up from the Doctor again. Too short a season, which was not too short an episode, if I recall, for you, Doctor. Got a thumbs down, but it's Admiral Jameson, and basically it's like search for your youth, the fountain of youth, and like staying young as long as possible, staying in the game. When the bow breaks, the children of the Enterprise get kidnapped by a creepy race of advanced aliens that are able to hide their planet from the rest of the galaxy, a la Atlantis.
Or Brigadoon.
Then we have Home Soil, another phenomenal episode where we're introduced to a new kind of life form, silicone-based life form, and that's a great episode. Coming of Age, where Wesley takes an entrance test for Starfleet Academy and fails, and then we are introduced to Admiral Quinn and Remick, and the seeds are planted for Conspiracy, which is a later episode. Then we have Heart of Glory, the first view of Klingons outside of Worf in Next Generation, and it had a lot of cool scenes with Klingons and talked about honor and Klingon life, and that was a neat one. We have Arsenal Freedom, about what could happen if the military industrial complex continues the way it is, and we become a species of weapons sales. Arsenal of Freedom. Symbiosis, a great episode. So for the Doctor, with some Star Trek alumni. From Star Trek 2 and just Star Trek 2 and Star Trek 3 for Merritt Buttrick, about two civilizations that have created a symbiotic relationship in which one whole planet is addicted to a drug that's provided by another planet, and so you have this like drug dealer druggie relationship, and the Enterprise gets caught in the middle. And then Skin of Evil. Sadly, the episode that marks the death of Tasha Yar, and we are introduced to a very interesting, completely evil character. Counselor Troy has a great moment that even the Doctor liked in this episode. We'll always have Paris, a nice little view into Picard's young life, his romantic, a romantic liaison, and some really cool science fiction about dimensions and time travel and time distortions. Then we have Conspiracy, fantastic episode that we all thought was the season closer for some reason, but it's actually not. It's the episode before the season closer, and it has to do with the setup of events that took place in coming of age where Admiral Quinn is suspicious of a conspiracy in Starfleet, and here we find out that the conspiracy is real. High-ranking Starfleet officials are infected or have been body snatched by these little crab-like creatures that we find out in the expanded Star Trek universe are actually at war with the Trills. And then finally the neutral zone, which we just reviewed a few minutes ago, which we didn't think was maybe the greatest season closer, but I thought it had a great message, and it was a way to kind of remind everyone what Star Trek can be about, and what the landscape of what life in the Federation and Starfleet is like. And we get the return of the Romulans, and they will be a formidable enemy and later perhaps ally in the Star Trek Next Generation storylines. And that's it. Those are all the episodes.
That was a great summation of the season. You're really good at these summaries. You know that?
I had a little help. I pulled up a list of the episodes, but I did just kind of go
still,
by what
you are summarizing them. You may have the list in front of you, but you're summarizing them.
I'm
That's
summarizing.
Very good, Sahel. That's really good.
Let
me ask you, what do you think are the successes of season 1? What are the overall?
Going through that list, I have to say that the episodes that stood out to me are definitely the ones that were more science fiction-y. And I think there were quite a few that offered some good science fiction storytelling. Like the Q episodes, of course, I love Q, so those are always going to be up there in my list of favorites. But for example, Where No One Has Gone Before with the Traveler, it's one of the best episodes, stands out. Very science fiction-y. Let's see, another one. Haven is another interesting science fiction-y episode about with this connection, and then also like just I thought that was a neat kind of episode. Again, stands out. Data Lore was a great episode to me. That was a success for sure. The Binar episode, another one that was a success. And I remember you pointing out that what you liked about it is that like the Binars were not like any other, Star Trek, antagonist that we've seen. Home Soil, very science fiction-y, right? Would that one even fall under hard science fiction, Doctor? I don't know. It would, right?
Yeah.
Let's see. And then after that, I love Skin of Evil, Conspiracy, and I love the Neutral Zone. So I think there were like a lot of those were the standouts for me. Where this season I think failed for me, the episodes that if I recall that weren't that great to me. The battle had a cool premise, but the Ferengi just kind of like always, they just seem too comical in this season. They're not as well thought out as they, again, I think we talked about this. Quark is amazing. He's a great character, and I love Quark. And it wasn't until we meet Quark that I started to really appreciate the Ferengi, because we finally saw dimensionality to them, but here they're very one-dimensional, and I didn't really care for them. Let's see, another one that Code of Honor didn't work for me. I thought it was too they tried too hard to make a commentary, like a social commentary, and I think it just ends up seeming stereotypical and like kind of not very thought out. And then Angel One echoes the same sentiment, I think, though it has some really neat scenes in it. Overall, I think every episode has something of value or something redeemable in it, that so as a season, as a whole season, I would say that every episode lends to a kind of giving us a richness about this world and these characters, but not always, they don't always deliver in terms of like fascinating or compelling plot or story.
Okay. Which characters do you think stood out most in this season for you?
The Q, the Traveler.
Oh, but I mean among the core cast.
Oh, well, I have to say that that's the one thing that, uh, if I had to remember when I was younger, obviously, like I was fixated on Data. Data was probably my favorite character, and I loved learning a lot about Data. Anything, I couldn't get enough of Data, and Captain Picard, of course. But like, thinking about this season, I think that they did a really great job of balancing the characters out. I think we learn a lot about all the characters somehow. The characters that I think they spent a lot of time on, obviously Data, they spent a lot of time on him, Captain Picard, and Counselor Troy. Actually, we do get a lot about her in this season as well. So yeah, I don't know. I think those were the ones that kind of stood out. Riker is still a bit of a mystery. I think we find out more about Riker in season 2. Geordi is still a little bit of a mystery, but we're starting to, we get a few nice Geordi moments. Worf, we definitely get a lot of Worf backstory in the Klingon episode. So I feel like, and Wesley got, I feel like, yeah, every character got like a very sufficient amount of time in the limelight, so to speak.
I would agree and disagree with you a little on all you just said there. I think one of the failures of the show is that I don't think everybody among the cast got a fair share of episode time in terms of when you compare, like, for example, Data. Data lore is basically about Data, and that was one of the best episodes of the season. Likewise, Heart of Glory was the Worf episode, and that was one of the better episodes of the season. I think some of the best episodes of the seasons were the ones that took time to introduce us, the viewers, to these characters by giving us a story that was somehow deeply vested in who those characters are. And we had that with Data. We had that with Worf. We had several with Picard. We had one with Troy. And obviously we had some with Wesley. But as you pointed out, Geordi, although I like Geordi, I think he is one of the more successful characters. He didn't really have an episode that was really focused too much on him. But I want to talk about the women on the show. I think they got the short end of the stick. Certainly, Crusher and Yar, I don't think were as developed as they could have been over the course of the season.
I agree with you about Tasha not being developed, the character of Tasha not being developed. I do have to say that, like, that does feel, looking, back at the season, in my mind, I do feel like Tasha is not as developed as she could have been. I wanted more about her, with her character. But I disagree. I think Troy, and there's a lot of Troy and
No, I
Dr.
agree.
Crusher.
Troy does, yes.
Yeah, Troy's very
Troy,
well
yes,
developed.
but Crusher, no.
I think Crusher, I will say that, like, yeah, you are left with more, but I still feel like we got a lot of Dr. Crusher. I mean, especially with her relationship with Captain Picard. She has like, she's kind of evenly sprinkled throughout the whole season, but to argue with your point, like, Troy's always on the bridge. It's kind of refreshing that Dr. Crusher is actually in sickbay doing her job. So it's like we don't get a lot of sickbay scenes because we only see her during medical emergencies, or, like, on the rare occasion that there's a personal reason for her to be on the bridge, like with Wesley or whatnot. But I think that the Dr. Crusher Wesley dynamic, and then throw Picard in there, is pretty nicely established, if not fully developed but we will get more, of it.
Well, I know, but in this season we didn't.
Although she'll be missing from season 2 altogether. We will
Right.
not have Dr. Crusher at all in season 2. So we do lose time with Dr. Crusher in season 2, and we'll have to make up for that in season 3.
I think there were, and I'll go to the drug episode, Symbiosis. I think that episode, in my mind, being that it dealt with a medical issue, that would have been a good episode to sort of spotlight Crusher a little more. And I think that whenever there was time given to her, it was she always had to kind of somehow share it with the rest of the crew, whereas there were episodes like Heart of Glory and Datalore where it was clearly meant to be a spotlight episode for these characters, and I think that those episodes were some of the best ones. I wish they had done a spotlight episode on the rest of the crew, and especially Tasha. I think it was a missed opportunity with her character, and it was refreshing to see a real to see a woman in a action oriented take charge kind of role, but they didn't really use her. I mean, I remember the episode where Q returns and she gets sent to the penalty box,
Right.
and I'm like, why didn't you send Worf to the penalty box? Why do you take the woman out? I felt it just seemed slightly, I don't want to say misogynist, but just
Yeah, I mean, but I think also Star Trek is a product of its time as well. And did you feel that way when it first aired?
Yes.
Okay,
I always thought Tasha was one of the better ones, and I think I'm on record having said that I always thought Crusher was one of the better characters. I mean, she does. Crusher has a lot of spunk to her. I mean, the scene where she comes and she phasers the admiral,
right?
I mean,
I mean, we both love Dr. Crusher so much that in our youth we went and created a whole entire TV series about her called Star Trek Pasteur.
Yes, absolutely.
So, I mean, there's no argument for me there. But I think, again, I'm
sorry that the season didn't do more with those characters. I mean, go ahead.
I think that you're right, but I think despite that, the season actually worked really well and overall as an introductory season. And I do feel like, while there, you kind of do have to take that and, you have to kind of like see how. I think that with any first season of a show, the writers and the showrunners are going into it with this kind of like, let's put together as many diverse kind of scenarios as we can to see what audiences really take to. And then after that, they'll kind of, refine the series. And I feel like the Next Generation definitely does that. I think that like, the fans' responses to different episodes definitely influence the direction that the series took. And then we know from this documentary that there were a lot of internal politics as well. Gene Roddenberry had a very different idea of what the show should be about from what some of the producers and writers, even writers that were sort of picked by him, didn't necessarily agree with his ideas. And, so there's a lot of internal conflict. It's amazing that, we don't see that in the final, we don't see any of that. Those are all intrigues that we are privy to later on. But I definitely think that this first series was very strong. Now, if we have to place it in order of all 7 seasons of the Next Generation, what would be your ranking of this season? Sort of, have you ever thought about that?
Yeah, I wanted to do that. And I think keeping in mind that this is the first season, so it's burdened with tasks that subsequent seasons are not, simply because this is the season that has to introduce this universe and return Star Trek to the fans and update them and I think I'm gonna be a little more generous with this season. But I would give it a on a 10 scale again.
Hmm.
I would give this a 6. I think
Oh,
it's
very
a
cool.
better. I think it's a slightly better than average. If you look at this season, and for subsequent full season reviews that we do, I think it would be cool to see. Well, what are the legacies of the seasons, and this season has quite a few. Obviously, Q is introduced, and that's
Hmm.
something that he is a character that continues throughout the show. We have Lore is introduced. That's obviously
Hmm.
a reoccurring character in later seasons. The Traveler is another one who returns. So we have a
Hmm.
number of characters and situations that subsequent seasons mine this first season for. So I think that would be a good barometer to rate the seasons by is how much material do they keep coming back to. And
Right.
obviously the Romulans at the very end, as we just said in the review of the last episode, is a foe that will keep reoccurring. On the other hand, there are, the Ferengi were an absolute failure
Until much later.
until much later. I mean, it was they were able to obviously repair the Ferengi and revise them, but their rollout was not entirely successful.
Not for me.
Uh,
Yeah, I don't. I agree with that.
right. So we have to take that. So I mean, that's one of the big failures of the season, and they invested at least. Um, I would say they invested at least 2 episodes into the Ferengi and various references sprinkled throughout, which
So,
mhm.
oh, sorry. Go on.
Which when you think about it, in subsequent seasons, you never catch Riker or Picard saying, "Well, I think it's those damn Ferengis." I mean, they don't care about the Ferengis anymore after a certain point because the Ferengis failed. They were no
They
longer a
almost,
threat.
yeah, they go from like this kind of like unknown threat to becoming a part of the commerce of the Federation. Like they kind of blend in later on, and like they're never really established as a Federation world, but there's definitely no war or conflict per se with the Ferengi. They're kind of a neutral force in there.
They're like the Cayman Islands.
So
They're
so let's take Star Trek's overall kind of mission and see if season one delivered on that. So I'll just do our little thing here. Space, the final frontier. These are the continuing voyages of the Starship Enterprise on its continuing mission to explore strange new worlds and new civilizations and to boldly go where no one has gone before. So did we see strange new worlds and new civilizations in season one? Yes.
we yes, we did see we did it did deliver on new life. We saw the microbrain
Right, the
uh,
microwave.
from home soil. We That's one of the best episodes, and where no man has gone before. I still think that's one of the best episodes of the series.
We
In fact,
actually do literally boldly go where no one has gone before. Yeah,
yeah,
it's
it's they delivered in that episode in a way that was extraordinary. The Biner episode, I love the Biners. I think it's a fascinating species. I'm sorry that they didn't return. Um, we never see them again. We never see the Salayans or the Antikins again. I'm
that's true.
sorry, but I wish we could have seen them again. I like them.
They're pretty cool.
And then, yeah, we did see a number of new planets.
We did. So I think it did deliver on the promise of its opening
Yeah,
sequence. Yeah, I
that
definitely
was
think
good.
so. Yeah, so season one, I think it, if you're gonna watch Star Trek, if you're gonna start your Star Trek journey with Star Trek: The Next Generation, just start from season one. It's a great place to start. I think it would definitely people who are new to Star Trek, I think this is a great way to introduce you to the entire Star Trek universe, because the Next Generation's kind of in a happy little spot where it still has a lot of ties to the original series, and then it's responsible for spinning off many other Star Trek series. The Next Generation, I think, is responsible for Deep Space Nine, certainly Voyager, Enterprise, even though Enterprise is supposed to take place before all of the series, but you definitely see the Next Generation kind of influence in Enterprise. And then the Kelvin timeline, the Kelvin universe, is definitely also inspired by Star Trek: The Next Generation, even though it's a direct homage to the original series. There's a little bit of next gen in there.
Mm-hmm. I think among the cast, the core cast, I think the ones that stand out most to me, having reached the end of the season, are Picard, for sure.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, yeah. I think he came out of the season fully fleshed, three-dimensional, multi-layered character. Data and Worf. Although I've read a lot of stuff saying that Worf is one-dimensional in season one, I still think he's one of the more interesting characters. And just barely there, I think Geordi. Geordi, I think, is one of the underrated characters in season one. Even though a lot of times he's just there, like Sulu and Chekhov, he's just there to say, whatever, corsets, or, somehow LeVar Burton manages to inject just a little extra humanity, humor, and character into those moments. And so for me, those are the standout characters of season one among the core cast.
I think I agree with you. For me, it's Picard, Data, and I think for me this season, I felt a lot of interest in the Wesley character. So Wesley was pretty much a figure. I thought that, and he's in a lot of episodes as kind of like the, Wesley saves the day, especially earlier in the season. He kind of quiets down towards the end of the season. I guess
he's gone. We don't see him again after Tasha's funeral.
Yeah, it's true. I think there's a lot of possibly homework that he has to do, so we don't really see him much after. But he was pretty interesting to me. I thought he was a great way to. I realize now that I probably connected to the show as a kid through Wesley, and I think that's a great, that's done really well by Will Wheaton.
I think I do it through Picard.
Yeah, well, I mean, now I definitely find myself.
No, back then.
Yeah. Oh yeah, well, you were older.
Right. I did it through Picard.
I was like, oh man, I want to be that kid on the bridge. Like that's what I want to be. And then later on I wanted to be frozen and woken up in the future, on the bridge, on the ship, on the Enterprise D. So season one, episode, by episode, we think, I guess the feeling is that there were more great episodes than not, right? We agree on that.
There's some great episodes. There's some good episodes.
But there's a few.
There's a lot of fair to average for me. But again, I think, like I said, you've got to cut it some slack because it is the first season. So there's a lot of setup they have to do, and I think they do a pretty good job. And
in your mind, what stands out as the best episode this season and the absolute worst episode this season?
For me, it's a tie between conspiracy, and probably wow, it's a tough one. Actually, No Man Has Gone Before. I think it's between those two. I think those two episodes for me
Are the best.
are two of my favorites.
And then the worst episode.
And the worst, uh, definitely the Angel One is one of the worst. I know there's episodes where nothing happens. I don't know which are the ones that nothing happens.
I mean, nothing from the perspective of what? No
nothing
action.
happens. No, just nothing happens. Literally nothing happens. You know what? The one Too Short a Season. Nothing really happens.
For you. It didn't do it for you.
The stakes are not very high for any of the characters. Yeah, there's some bad ones. I'm trying to focus on the positive. I can't remember the bad ones right now. And I do want to also, because we can only do this once, is give special mention to the pilot and how that ranks against other Star Trek pilots. Where do you think, at Counter at Farpoint, how does that hold up against the other pilots for the Star Trek shows? So Broken Bow.
Or including the original series, right?
Would you like to?
Yeah, why not?
Because that's a tough one, because you got two.
Oh, that's right. Well,
pilots.
We'll focus on the Kirk pilot, which was now.
Yeah, okay.
Now, is that the Menagerie, right?
No.
No. What was
the Menagerie? Is
where no one has gone before, isn't it? Where no man has gone before. The one with the God guy. Decker, not Decker. Who is it? Is it Decker's father? That's later.
Oh, it's not Decker's father.
I need to refresh my my Star Trek the original series memory here. Let's go.
Cage is the original pilot, and then the second pilot, which you are referring to, is Where No Man Has Gone Before. And
okay,
of course, they're citing the Star Trek companion. So nice. You're right. Where No Man Has Gone Before.
Okay, that's what I thought. I would say that I'd have to really watch what's really strange?
What?
Oh, hold on. Okay, I see it. Okay, great. I was looking it up, and Where No Man Has Gone Before is a pilot episode, but they on Wikipedia they don't include it as part of the season. The season actually begins with the Man Trap, which is interesting that they consider season 1.
Right. That's why I asked you if you wanted to include.
Yeah,
because the pilots were not normally shown to the general audience. Pilots were only shown to networks at that point.
So let's just include it though, because we have to take Star Trek.
That's fine. Right.
As a whole, right? All right. So I think that so far, I haven't seen the Voyager pilot in a long time. I haven't seen the Enterprise pilot in a while. Broken Bow. I saw it. No, I did see it.
Yeah,
recently, like months ago, I saw it.
Because you quoted it, like you pulled out some quote from it. I was like, "Wow!"
I think I might have seen parts of it on YouTube or something like that.
Okay.
Is what it was.
All right.
I haven't actually watched it in its entirety. I don't think in a while. I can't recall. Bad memory. When you get to my age, when you get to be 350 years old, your memory just starts to go.
Or could it be the alien bugs?
Oh no, conspiracy. I think for me, DS9's pilot is the most exciting of all the pilots. You're agreeing with me on that one. And then, if memory serves, then I would have to say Encounter at Farpoint, and then Where No Man Has Gone Before, and then maybe Broken Bow, and then maybe Voyager's pilot. Are That would probably be my order if I had to, just based on memory. I haven't seen all these pilots, except I saw DS9's recently, and it still packs a wallop. It's one of the
It's
best.
captivating.
No,
Yeah.
it's so good. Yeah. So DS9 is number one. Next Gen's Encounter at Farpoint is number two.
Encounter 5 is an excellent pilot. It really
Mm-hmm.
does, and it's an excellent intro to Star Trek.
Mm-hmm.
It's cerebral, which apparently some people claim Star Trek doesn't have to be.
Oh, Mr. Chris Pine, why did you say that?
But it still manages to be exciting and good television. So
Yeah. Well, that I think that wraps up our season
recap.
one recap. We at Starfleet Boy here would like to thank everyone who has come along this journey with us, and we hope you'll come along and continue the journey as we go into season two.
The Pulaski era.
The Pulaski era, which I'll just say that when I first saw this as a kid, season two was not exciting to me. I was very reluctant to go into it because of my love for Dr. Crusher. I was very confused and distraught as to where Dr. Crusher went, and I wasn't ready to embrace Diana Muldaur's Dr. Pulaski.
I remember there was great controversy.
There was a lot of controversy for this, but feel free to let us know your thoughts. So you can write to us down there in the YouTube comment section. It's funny because I'm doing this and it's true. It's down there somewhere on your screen. If you're seeing this on Facebook, you can feel free to engage with us there. And we have a Starfleet Boy on the Twitter, on Starfleet Boy on Instagram, the Tumblr, and you can write to us at starfleetboy@gmail.com. If you want to be on the show, we'd love to have you as well. All right.
Hi, Emma.
Hi, Emma. All right. So live long and prosper. And thank you for joining us on this journey. And we'll see you next time.